I Googled to prepare for this some of the top 10 innovations in human history, and one of them, oh, I need the remote, was the remote control. No, it wasn't. So, and one of them was the domestication of the horse, which I was glad about because I have a story about that. So the domestication of the horse was an exciting development because it helped advance an agrarian society. It improved transportation, and it allowed for basically the advancement of civilization around the globe. And it brought with it also a lot of interesting dependencies. So when the Romans built chariots that they used behind horses, they developed them to be twice the width of the rear end of a horse. And then they developed wagons, and they developed carriages and lots of other things over the years, and they had a specific width that was twice the size of the horse. And then when we built trains, they also were twice the width of a horse. And so when they built the space shuttle and the rocket boosters had to travel by train, they had to fit on a train that was twice the width of a horse. So it's interesting the dependencies that you create even with great innovations. So it's hard to talk about innovation without talking about Apple, because obviously they've innovated a ton in the field. I mean, I think 10 years ago we would all have been shocked to learn that our entire music library would fit in the palm of our hand. And it was really fascinating because they didn't just change the music industry and the way people sell music and the way people consume music, they changed human behavior, and I think we all know that's really hard to do. So cardinal rule number 1 for innovation, don't reinvent the wheel unless you need to. So tires are an interesting topic because we all hate them. You always have to replace them, they go flat, whether it's a run flat tire or a low profile tire, you still have to replace them, and that's annoying. But Michelin has this tire they've developed, and it's been in use in the military for years. And notice there's no tube. So why aren't we using these tires? Well, there are probably a lot of reasons for that, involving manufacturing plants and timelines and stuff, but also tire companies like to sell you tires. So sometimes if you want to innovate and you want to bring something new to market, you have to piss some people off. So sometimes you have to redefine the market as well. So we've all swiped a credit card, and that's an amazing innovation. So it's facilitated commerce, certainly in the US and around the world, and it's probably one of the top innovations in the last 50 years in financial services, unless you include the lollipop at the drive-through window. How many of you have heard of Square? How many of you have actually swiped a card on a Square device? That's exciting. So you guys are a little bit ahead of the curve, I'd say. The real interesting thing about Square is the innovation there is not necessarily the little plastic thing that you plug into your phone. The innovation is the experience of signing up. The user experience is amazing, and what's so amazing about it is, first of all, that it's fast and it's easy, but the other thing that's really exciting about it is that they approve people. So small merchants, whether you're a mobile merchant, whether you're a hot dog salesman, whether you're a lawn service provider, you can get a payment account, and you could never get one of those before. And so that's a really exciting innovation. So Kabbage does that too in small business. We take our customers from the application to cash in their account in 7 minutes. And we do that operating with a lot of the same dependencies that lots of other financial services companies have in the past. And it's interesting because small business lending hasn't changed very much in the last century or in the last 60 years. And really, nobody cared much about small business lending until recently. How many of you guys have applied for a small business loan? Anybody? So you know what a hassle it is. There's lots of paper and time and faxes and financial statements that you have to provide to folks. And that's really frustrating. And the problem is if you're looking for less than $100,000, you're probably going to hear no from your bank because they lack the tools and the resources in order to do that. So we started our company in 2009, which was in the heart of the economic crisis. So you can imagine that raising money for small businesses, for a small business financing company, was not an easy task. So we had to make the story personal. And since we were talking to VCs, we made it a cartoon story. Sorry, Sig. So we told a story about our customer, our prototypical customer, Bill. And Bill's a small business. He happens to sell online, and he's looking for a bank loan. And he goes to his buddy, Rich, who's a traditional banker. Now, Rich wants to help Bill, but he can't because he doesn't have the tools and he doesn't have the resources in order to approve Bill for less than $100,000. It costs him too much. But he's a good guy. He wants to help Bill. But Bill's really frustrated because this process doesn't work for him, and he needs capital. He only needs $20,000 so he can buy some more inventory and grow his business. And it's hard for him to do. And we said, wow, this is really interesting. There are all these new APIs that exist today that eBay created originally in 2006, and now that you can get from lots of other online businesses that serve small businesses. And we're able to use those APIs in order to make a decision about the performance of a small business. And that is what's enabled us to grow. So we learned things about daily deal companies and about social data and payment processing data. And all of this data that we suck into our engine so that we can say yes to a small business. And the interesting thing is we're hampered by all of the same infrastructure that traditional banks are. We've got to deal with the payment rails. We've got to deal with the data rails. We've got to deal with the regulatory rails. But even in spite of all of those things, we're able to say yes to small businesses when banks say no. So far, we like to talk about ourselves. We've got more than 160,000 accounts today, and we've put out more than $130 million to small businesses. Our customers, on average, double their revenue after they take cash from us compared to before. We've got $56 million so far in equity that we've raised in a $75 million debt facility. A couple of patents, we're in the news all the time. But the most exciting thing I think about this, and it's what reminds me again of the Square experience, is that our NPS, if you're familiar with that, the Net Promoter Score, is 74, which is unheard of for a financial services company. And we're able to do that because we take our customer from landing on our site to cash in their account in 7 minutes. And it doesn't take time away from their business, and it doesn't take time away from their family, and they're able to quickly go through the process, and best of all, we say yes to them. So that's how we've been able to take advantage of infrastructure and process requirements and turn them to our advantage. Thanks.